Have you ever set a goal and then put in so much time, effort, energy, maybe even money, only to not reach it and wonder what you did wrong? Well, as a professional strategist, I am going to share with you today the one simple shift that you can make that is going to drastically increase the odds of you achieving any goal, whether it is in life, whether it is in business. I see people make this mistake over and over and over again. And the reason why is you just don't think like a strategist. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But today I am going to kind of reveal for you the secrets that strategists like me use so that you can make this shift and start to reach your goals faster, as well as be more satisfied when you actually reach them. Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard. I went from being a lawyer and partner at one of the largest firms in America to becoming an online personality and successful entrepreneur. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your health and personal life. So, how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you chase joy while achieving success? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Welcome back to Hustle and Flow. I am your host, Heather Hubbard, and we are on episode 245. And today I'm going to help you think like a strategist. Yes, I'm going to help you figure out what it is that you might be doing wrong in order to make a small shift that's going to help you reach your goals faster and be more successful in any goal that you set, as well as be more satisfied when you reach them. So, for years, people used to ask me how I would achieve these really big goals that most people would say, that's impossible. You can't do that. And then I would go on and do that. And at that point, I was not a professional strategist. I've always had a very strategic mind. So I've always been a strategist for myself, but people weren't hiring me for strategy at that point. They just wanted to know, how did you do that? What made you think like that? Why did you do that? And I would be like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm just being me. I'm just doing what I do. I didn't really know how to break it down. And I am sure that you have gifts and talents where you're the same way. You're like, it's just natural. Like, I don't even know how to explain how I do it because I'm not really thinking in steps. I'm not breaking it down. Like, I'm just being me. Right? But here's the thing. Once I became a professional strategist over a decade ago, and people started hiring me and paying me to help them with their strategies. I work with a lot of lawyers, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of companies and firms, and they hire me to help with their strategy. And as paying clients, they would have questions. They would want to know why that strategy over another strategy, or how that strategy was going to be more effective, or if I wanted to go down one path before we did something else. They had questions around how and why, and I could no longer say, I don't know why. I mean, maybe sometimes I do, but I really had to work towards figuring out how to actually break down the thought process, because there is always a thought process. It's just that for whatever, like, we're really good or gifted at, like, we just go through it so quickly we don't realize there are steps. But I had to break it down and figure it out. And when I did that, and then when I would be talking with clients, especially when they were confused or talking about what they did before, I saw over and over and over again people making the same mistake. They were not thinking like a strategist. And so they were approaching their goal setting all wrong, which meant that a lot of times they would put in time, energy, effort, and money and not get the results they wanted. Or they might put in the effort, get the results, reach the goal, but not actually be happy. And I've done that before too. Have you done that? Right? Like where you set a goal, you reach the goal, and it's like so awesome for a little bit, but that wears off pretty quickly. And then you're like, that actually did not make me happy or satisfied. My life is still my life. My business is still my business. So this tweaks that a little bit for you. Okay. So let me break down how a strategist thinks. And by the way, once I figured this out for myself, I started actually researching and learning about strategy. And turns out this is what other strategists, this is what they do as well. Okay. Are y'all ready for the $1,000,000 secret? We think about the long-term vision. We think about the why before we ever get to a goal. Like, I'm not actually interested in your goals. If I'm working with you as a client, I'm not interested in your goals from the outset because I don't know if you have the right goals to begin with. Like, this is the mistake I see people make. They're not setting the right goals. And the way that you set the right goals is you don't start with the goals. Throw the goals away. You start with the vision. What is the long-term vision? And some people struggle with long-term vision. And so if you struggle with long-term vision, then you can bring it in and do short-term vision. But if you have the ability to have a long-term vision, that is going to be even more powerful in terms of setting your strategy and your goals. So the reason why vision is what matters is because your vision is going to set your strategy, and your strategy sets your goals. We'll break that down even more, but I'm going to say that again. Your vision sets your strategy, and your strategy sets your goals. Another way to say that is it informs. Your vision informs your strategy, and your strategy informs your goals. And so many of the people that I have ever worked with, they set a goal, like that's the very first thing they do, and then they start to identify a strategy. That ain't right, y'all. That is not how you do it. That's not how you do it. So this one simple shift is going to dramatically improve your results and your satisfaction. Okay. So what is your vision? And I'm not talking about for one little thing. I'm talking about overall. Like, what do you want? What do you want for your life? What do you want for your career? What do you want for your relationships, your business, all the things? Like, what do you want? 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, however far out you can go. I'm a dreamer. Okay. So, like, I can go to 120. Again, dreamer. The fact that I think I will still be alive or could be potentially alive at 120, I am a dreamer. Some of you may not be, and that's totally okay. All right. You're never going to be me. I'm never going to be you. I'm not asking you to be me. I'm simply asking you to push out as far as you can and to think about what it is that you want for your life, your business, your career, all the things. What is your vision? And so if I was working with you, this is where I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, and I am going to push back, and I may throw some things out at you to be like, well, what about this? To get your response of yes or no. Because again, some people can't just articulate it. They actually have to kind of work through it. But that then kind of allows me to see the vision, and I can say, so is this the vision? And they can be like, yes, or be like, maybe, but also this, or they'll be like, nope, not it at all. And we keep working until we have a clearly defined vision. Without a vision, you're going to struggle. Everyone has vision to some extent, right? And here's what I mean by that. Let's actually, we'll go back to the concepts that we were talking about 2 episodes ago in episode 243, where I was talking about why you need to ditch the quarterly planning. So I shared some of my own goals for the first third, and one related to losing weight. Okay. So, and again, that is a very common goal. So if your goal at the beginning of the year was to go to the gym, and maybe it wasn't lose weight, maybe it was my goal is to go to the gym, I would ask, well, why are you wanting to go to the gym? And you might tell me that you want to look better, you want to feel better, you want to be healthier, you want to lose weight, you want more strength. There are a million different reasons. It's going to be unique to each person. And so if they're saying, well, I want to lose weight or I want to be healthier, I'm going to say, well, why? Like, are you hoping to keep it off? Is this for like, are you like you're getting married this year and so you're trying to look your best? Or is this like you hope to do this and maintain this? Like you're going to go to the gym the rest of your life, or you want to improve your health the rest of your life? Okay. Well, how does feeling healthy make you happier? How does it fit into what you're wanting out of life? And it's those kinds of questions that's going to get you to that vision. So there's some kind of vision, even if you don't know it, right? In the same way that I used to not be able to break it down, you may not know that you have a vision, but you're striving for something other than just going to the gym or just losing weight. There's a reason for it. And so this is where you want the bigger vision. And sometimes you might set a goal and there's not a reason for it other than someone told you couldn't do it. And I might be talking about myself. I mean, I'm a very competitive person. I'm a high achiever. I'm ambitious. And growing up, even as a kid, for a very long time, even I try not to do it anymore. If someone told me I could not do something, like I would set a goal and go do it just to prove them wrong. But that does not actually help in any way achieve my long-term vision or my happiness. So, not the best goal, even though I might have reached it. Guaranteed you, I would have reached it. Okay. So, you've got to have the vision. And then once you have the vision, you can move to the strategy. So, the strategy is really the how. I actually had someone at my planning extravaganza back in December. She was looking at my strategy pyramid and she was like, I loved it. It was Megan. She was like, so the vision is the why and the strategy is the how. And she was kind of going through it. She was like, what do each, so I have a strategy pyramid and there's like 5 different levels. And she was like, which does each represent? And I was like, I'd never thought of it like that, but it makes sense. It totally makes sense. So she kind of helped me have my own breakthrough again and breaking it down and the thought process and why. But it made total sense. Yeah, the vision is, what is your why? Why are you doing this? It's the what do you want? Who are you? What do you want? Why? And then the strategy is, well, how? How am I going to get there? And one of the secrets to success from a strategic thinking perspective with hows is there are no guarantees. And so as a strategist, we don't get bogged down by is this the perfect way to go about this? We don't get bogged down with, is this going to work no matter what? Like, we don't think, I mean, I can be a perfectionist and I can think in absolutes for sure, but not when it comes to strategy because it's not very strategic. You don't think about it in those terms. You think about it in terms of what are all of the options available to me that might get me from where I am right now to the vision that I have. And then we start to go through all of those options and we start to process through them to say, well, which one do I think is the best? Which one do I think is the best? And this is where, as a strategist, like we can do a podcast, we could do an online course, but strategy is personal. It will always be a service. It will always be a service. You can teach as much as you want or try to help someone else do their own strategy. But if you're helping someone, like give them strategy, like you've got to you got to work one-on-one, or what I do is in a group setting. So your strategy is personal to you. Your strategy is personal to your strengths. Your Strategy is personal to your personality. If you are a company, your strategy is personal to the team that's there. Your strategy is going to relate to your values. The strategy relates to, again, whether you're a person or a company, like what motivates you? What is easy for you? What is a natural gift? What drains you? What do you hate doing? Like you're really good at it, but you absolutely hate it. How much money do you have available to throw at this problem or at this goal? It may not be a problem, but like, how much money do I have to throw at this? How much time do I have? How much energy do I have? Like, there are so many variables that go into strategy, and it is not a one size fits all. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that. And it's why they reach for goals, because a goal is often related to something that is mainstream. There's so many different articles or podcasts or courses that say, like, this is the one thing to do. And therefore, so it's like, go to the gym or do your food, right? A certain diet. Or maybe it is like write a book or become a speaker or do webinars. I'm kind of thinking online business space at the moment, like the different things that they say, do this and then. And in many ways, that is the strategy. And you are simply saying, oh, that sounds good. Therefore, my goal is to get more booked gigs, or my goal is to write a book, or my goal is to, but that might not have ever been the right strategy for you to begin with. So this is where you can really, really improve, again, your success and your satisfaction by, instead of just saying, oh, that sounds good, that's going to be the fix, and that therefore that is my goal. Back it up. Back it up. This one simple shift is going to change everything for you. Move to your vision, then to your strategy. Once you have chosen a strategy to test, because your strategy may need to change, okay? The vision, like, you should be steadfast in your vision. And, your vision can change over time, right? There are a million different things that can impact what you want in your life. What you want at 20 is not what you're going to want at 50, probably, maybe, potentially, right? So your vision can change, but shouldn't be changing that much that often. What will change is the strategy to achieve it. And so the goals come last. Well, not technically last, because you've also got your projects and your tasks, your action in order to reach the goal. But my point is, don't start with the goal. Don't start with the goal. Start with your vision and then develop your strategy. And once you have that in place, then and only then do you set your goals. Okay. Another potentially mind-blowing aha for you. I'm a little scared to say it because for some of you, it might be super important. And so I don't want you to think that like everyone can do this. But if you were really dialed in to the strategy, which is connected to the vision, like you've made sure that's aligned, the goals actually aren't as important. Like when I think of the strategy pyramid, you can, and by the way, if you're on my email list, you're going to get the visual of this. So make sure you're on my newsletter. It's free, heatherjoyhubbard.com/subscribe. So in the middle of the pyramid is where the goals are. We're going to keep the goals there. It makes it a pretty pyramid. But if one could be removed, and only one, there's only one that could potentially be removed. That's the goal. That's less important. I don't always have specific goals. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. The thing that's most important to reaching the goal, which is really in many ways the short-term vision, it's the strategy. It's the strategy. And that's what people miss. It's what they mess up. They just go straight to the goal. Okay, so let's do a quick case study because I want to take this beyond theory and actually show you what it looks like in practice. So I plan in thirds, and at the end of April, beginning of May, really, I reviewed the first 4 months and then planned for the summer months. So I just went through this process again, and I thought it might be helpful for you to see how I thought through it. and break it down so that you can then do the same, so that you actually have an actual example to consider. So we start with long-term vision. My long-term vision is that I live a long, healthy life, that I have energy, that I am vibrant, that I get to do the things I love for a long, long time. I also have the vision that I am financially free, that I can enjoy luxury around me, but I also have a lot of wealth that I can turn to in terms of if a crisis comes up, in terms of retirement, if I ever want to retire. I always say that, like, I'll retire when I'm 85, but also maybe it's the state of the world, but there are a lot of things where I'm like, I want to put money towards that. And whether it's organizations, people, and I want more wealth around that. So long-term vision, there's just wealth. There is health and there is wealth. And also, I've always had a vision ever since I was a little girl. If you've been listening for a while, you know that I one day wanted to be the first woman president. And unfortunately, that is still a possibility for me. It should not be, but it is. The other was that I would be this famous country singer or a dancer on a cruise. I was performing, a big book author on TV. I just always had this vision of it's not necessarily being famous, but being in the spotlight and having influence. And like that just brings me joy. And so I still have that vision. I want to do some big things in my life related to that bigger stage. We'll put that in quotation marks. Obviously, surrounded by people that I love. I will tell you, I am with like StrengthsFinder, I'm a relator, and that is totally true, which means I love to be surrounded by people where like I'm in the foxhole with them. And I am a connector in that I have so many amazing people in my life and in my network, but I really only have a few that like I really want to spend a lot of time with and share all my deep, dark secrets. Like it's a really, really small circle. But just envisioning that I have flourishing relationships that includes both the extrovert in me that like means I get to have social gatherings with a lot of amazing people, talk to a lot of amazing people, but also like at home and things like that. Like just it's really tight knit. That is the vision. Like that's for me, that's what I want. And so I then take the step back and I always check in with that vision because vision can change. Don't assume that the vision's always going to be the same. So that is still the long-term vision. Short-term vision, the summer vision that is supported, connected, right, to the long-term vision is that I am improving my energy, vitality, health each and every day. I envision that I am active. I envision that I am adventurous. I am having fun. I envision lots of wonderful memories with, again, that close knit group, but also a lot of connection with the group that maybe I'm like not so tight knit with, but still love being able to spend some time around. So I envision that, right? Social activities, but also some really close outings, adventures, memories with people. I envision making good money in the business. I envision being able to bring profit home. I envision being able to continue to invest and grow the money for the long-term financial freedom. And I envision making meaningful progress towards the book. And I envision really getting back into the swing of things, of growing the business, growing my audience. For those of you who've been around for a while, you know that in many ways, ever since the health sabbatical, I've really mostly been focused on the people that I've always worked with before because I love them. But really going back to growing things. So that's what the summer looks like for me, like working on the business, but having fun and feeling great. So what's my strategy to make that happen? Vision, strategy. Let me just say there were a lot of strategies available. But for me, when I was thinking through, okay, how do I want to do that? Well, I could plan weekly date nights. I could plan outings, vacations, adventures. I could have a list and make sure that of all the people I want to see, I have talked to them or met up with them at least once. I could buy lottery tickets. That doesn't actually help the vision, but it might help the long term vision, probably not the short term vision. But in terms of the business, right? I could add new programs. That could be a strategy. I could increase my prices. I could run ads. I mean, there are so many, especially with business, there are a million different strategies to making money in the business and growing your audience. You can do TikTok, you can do Instagram, you can do Pinterest and LinkedIn and YouTube and funnels and newsletter lists and webinars and all the things, right? Like there's a million different strategies. I could go all in on speaking. Again, just so many different things that I could actually do. There are so many options available. Health, energy, vitality. I can keep doing what I'm doing. I can add in a new exercise routine. I could hire a nutritionist. I might start a vitamin regimen. I might find a functional medicine doctor. Again, just so many different strategies available. But the strategies ultimately that I decided I wanted to be my focus for the summer. Let me look at my notes on this. I just did this over the last week or two. I don't have them memorized yet. By the end of the summer, I absolutely will because I will be working that strategy to death. Yeah, the adventure, the vitality, all of that with health. I'm actually just going to try to maintain what I'm doing. So I'm trying to dance 5 times a week. And I'm going to just try to keep following the Mayo tracking. Those have been working for me. I may or may not continue with the red light therapy the whole time. I think I might try to wean off a little bit just to kind of see what happens with that. But otherwise, I'm going to maintain. Now, as I mentioned, I guess this was actually in episode 243 when I was talking about the review of January to April, I might adjust or add to or tweak the strategy as I'm going if something is not working, but I don't scrap the strategy. I never scrap. No, you got to get through the full 4 months, but I might adjust it. So as I'm going forward, if something about the Mayo diet or the red light therapy or the dancing that I was doing, by the way, I'm totally referencing stuff from episode 243. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go back and listen to that. But I'm basically going to be in maintenance mode. As long as I keep getting results, I'm happy with the strategy that I have. If I'm no longer getting the results I want, I may tweak something. But that will be a real-time decision. For the most part, I'm just going to maintain. As I said, I may pull back a little bit on the red light therapy. The other is that I have 3 specific things that I want to plan for loved ones, family, my husband, to ensure that we have those adventurous fun times with people that I'm really close to. So that is the strategy for that, is that I will take charge. I will plan it. I will see if others want to participate. And then for the vision of having wonderful clients that I'm working with and loving and making good money, working on the book proposal, all of that. So the strategy of that is going to be partly, again, maintaining. I'm going to maintain the 3 programs that I am working, again, referenced in episode 243. And I am going to also work on some speaking, guest podcasting, and just growing the audience in numbers in terms of the email and social media because that actually helps support the book proposal, and it will help support selling the programs that I have. So for a while now, I've just been selling to people I've previously been working with, and to really grow and help profitability, both with money and with the book. It's important to grow the audience. And so the strategy with growing that is going to be related to the freebies again. So this is part of why we are bringing the blueprint back and doing it in a way that we think is going to be a lot more meaningful and people are interested in. I also have some very specific strategies related to providing more interesting, entertaining, and compelling content. So that's that. Okay, so now let's go to the goals, because I was about to get into that. So the goals for me, I don't have specific numbers around where I want like my Instagram to be or how many people I want on my email. And if so, you don't have to have the goal if you don't want to. Like, it does not need to be a SMART goal. I very rarely do SMART goals because I actually don't care what the number is. What I care about is, am I working the strategy? Because I know if I'm working the strategy, I am going to get information back at the end of the 4 months that tells me what's working and what's not working, which is part of why you have to track, which is step 3. There's so much to the blueprint, which is why I'm really excited to bring that workbook back for you guys. But like I said previously, it was an ebook. We're going to have it in a workbook format for you now. And so that's the goal around that. It's a very fluid goal. It's just, I'm going to work the strategy. I'm going to try to grow my audience, and we'll see what numbers we get to. The goal is for me to get back to that pre-tumor weight. I mean, again, I don't actually care if I reach that goal or not. It's that I'm working the strategy to see where I get at the end of the 4 months. And then I would like to sell out my fall Joy in the Journey retreat at Miraval. And I would like to have sold 50% pre-sale, 50% of the spots to my 2026 mastermind. So those are financial goals. So that is my personal case study for how I just planned for the summer. So I hope that that's helpful, like you being able to see the way I kind of think through my own. It's your turn now. It's your turn to go work on your goals, but you're going to do it first by looking at your vision and your strategy, right? Like no longer set a goal without knowing the strategy. And I'll say one more thing on this. If you set your goal first, like I'm going to lose 12 pounds, and then you go to the strategy, there's nothing wrong with having a strategy for the goal. But if you didn't have the strategy before the weight, this is where it's not connected and it's not aligned. And you're probably reaching for the most obvious things. So you can't have the right goals if you don't first have the right strategy that is informed by your long-term vision. So, like I said, this is part of my strategy pyramid. It is part of my overall blueprint, which is a 7-step process, which I have been using. Oh my gosh, I've been sharing this since 2015, I think. So, as I had mentioned previously, it used to be in an ebook. I also speak on this at companies, and it's part of just the work that I do. But we have revamped it. It is now in a workbook. It has visuals for you. It has exercises for you. This is step 6, the strategy pyramid. So it's going to outline the whole pyramid for you. And it will also give you all of the other steps, again, to help you have as much success and satisfaction with your entire life. And you can grab that. It is absolutely free. All you got to do is go to heatherjoyhubbard.com/blueprint. And like I said, this is technically step 6, but you can do it all. And leave a comment. Even if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, come on over to YouTube and leave a comment and let me know if this was helpful, if it helped you shift the way that you are going to approach your goals in the future. And maybe you didn't even know about the strategy and vision, but you were doing it anyway. And you're like, oh my gosh, I've been setting my goals the right way the whole time. Or maybe you're like, oh my gosh, this actually explains a lot. If you are like, I'm not sure on my vision, I need help with my vision. I have no idea what I want. I have lost touch with who I am. I've lost touch with what I want. I don't have a clear vision for my life. Get your butt into joy in the journey. It is my life-changing retreat. I promise you will have clarity at the end of it. So go check it out. It's heatherjoyhubbard.com/joy in the journey. 75 women have done it over the last 10 years with me. And again, just truly life-changing results where you get so much clarity and often get help with the strategy piece as well. Go check it out. And that is it for this week. And I hope you stay tuned for next week. We will be in June. We have a lot of really wonderful programming for you. I hope you have had a wonderful holiday if you were listening to this in real time. And we'll see you real soon. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, give the episode a like and leave a comment below so we can keep the conversation going. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future episode or announcement. Listening on Apple, Spotify, or another podcast app, you can watch the video and join in the after-show conversation by visiting hustleandflowpodcast.com.